Now, it's Pace of Play.
Come on, Glenn! Come on! Get your head in the damn game!
Putting the boys on the clock.
I guess we're playing for keeps now.
The fuck?
Everybody, with another edition of Pace of Play. And Lee, I want to kick it off. 45-year-old Steve Stricker announced that he's going to cut way back on his playing schedule on the PGA Tour for 2013 because he wants to spend more time with his family and he wants to devote more time to his foundation. I can understand the family bit, the foundation bit a little bit, but I mean, come on, this is what you do for a living. He's not exactly an old man. He's 45 years old. He doesn't play that many events during the year normally anyway. And for some reason, this was all over the news. Is this really a big story, though?
Well, I don't think it's a big story. I mean, I've had the chance coming from Champaign, Illinois, where Steve played college, to know Steve a little bit, and a great guy and an extremely class act. But Steve normally plays 19 events, and if Steve decided to play 30 or if he decided to play 10, I don't think that many people would notice that Steve was not going to play. I think this is a great decision for him. The only thing is now he's decided he's going to spend more time in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's exactly a cure for boredom, but Steve had a great year. I mean, even though people talk about him playing poorly down the stretch and in the Ryder Cup and that, he still won. And when you look at what that takes him, he's 45 years old. His win takes him through the age of 47. His top 25 exemption take him to 48. His top 50 exemption would take him to 49. So he really doesn't have to play that much to be exempt all the way through to try to play on the Champions Tour.
Well, I agree with you, but the reason you play professional golf, I would think, despite what all of these guys say, is to win money. And he's out there winning money. It's not as that, you got to get it while you can, Lee, And
well,
I cut back, sure, he doesn't need it. But on the other hand, that's what you're there for, is to win as much money as you can for the financial benefit of your family.
I agree. The people that criticize him are going to say that, 10 years ago or slightly less, when he was at the bottom of the barrel, he was fighting for exemptions, and now all of a sudden he decides he's tired of the travel.
Exactly.
So it's a tough one for him to go to. Let's move on to, speaking of Steve Stricker and a multiple comeback player of the year 2 years in a row, let's talk about some, maybe guys in that tweener age between the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour that you think maybe had a poor 2012. They have a chance at winning this comeback player of the year in 2013.
That's a tough one. I was looking at some players, and to be honest, there's a couple of people I'm thinking about, but for some reason when you brought up that question, I don't know why. All of a sudden, as far as comeback player of the year this last season, I in my mind there was only one guy, and that's got to be Tiger. But I'm looking forward to the next season, like you say, and to be honest with you, I'm having a tough time picking a player.
I'm gonna go with Stewart Cink. Ever since Stewart went in the 2009 British Open, he's kind of gone downhill.
He's fallen off the
bit.
End of the earth, for crying out loud.
And I think that this could be a great opportunity. Number one, he maybe hit rock bottom this year at the Waste Management. He shot 83 in the first round, or one of those things, really making a swing change, switching from Butch to back to the East Coast. I think it could make a great story in 2 years. Him playing on the team in Scotland for Tom Watson, the person that he beat in that British Open. And so I think there's just something that gets me on what this story could provide if he has a good 13, a good 14, makes the Ryder Cup team, and now playing on the
you
team
really
for
think
Tom
that's
Watson.
going to be realistic, though, Lee? I don't.
I do. I
think he's so far.
Stewart is a fantastic player.
He's a
was
wonderful
an ATM
player.
machine for forever. And I think that his swing changes will come through, and he'll have a good 13.
I hope so, because he is a good guy. All right, moving on. Jordan Spieth, a phenomenal young talent, recently announced that he's going to leave college. He's turning professional. And there has been a couple of other college players that decided to leave early and turn professional and try to make their living playing golf. This again was a pretty big story over the news wires. Is this really, though, that big of a story, Lee, to get all this ink?
I think it's a big deal for him and his family.
No doubt about it.
And that's about it. Just like I think it's that big a deal for somebody in baseball to turn pro or somebody in basketball to turn pro. I mean, it's a great opportunity for him to, forego his college years that, everybody talks about you have a great time in college to move on to the pro ranks, make some money, and provide for families and do all that type of thing.
That's the story to me.
Yeah. But, I'll give him – I think the question is I know that we have the 18-year-old rule, on the PGA Tour. Does the PGA Tour come to a certain spot where they enact a rule that if you go to college –
you got to finish.
You got to play 2 years. You got to play 3 years.
Yeah.
You got to, whatever that number is, similar to what other sports are doing. But it's not a big deal to me.
No, I hope it works out. And it goes the other way. Look at Michelle Wie. I give her credit. She got through Stanford. She took a long time doing it. It's not going to, with a college education, it's not going to do her that much good. Speaking
of college, Golf Channel just made their announcement that they're going to broadcast the NCAA tournaments live in 2014, 2015. They're going to broadcast the men's the first year,
the Division I,
and then
right.
the men's and the ladies the following year. You think this is a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal. I like it though. I think Division I golf is interesting to a lot of people. It's these guys play pretty darn good. As far as the women's next year in Florida, and they're both going to be in Florida, I don't know if that's going to be a big deal or not. I really don't. But I think it's a nice decision that they made. And again, I think a lot of people have an interest in it.
I agree with you. I think I always like turning on and seeing. You see walking, you see shorts, you see uniforms. That type of thing, that team atmosphere,
right.
I always enjoy. And then let's look at it this way. You also get to see who's next.
Yeah, who's coming up
and
the
you
ranks.
might be able to see the Jordan Spieth in college and the Tiger Woods when he was in college and these particular players in college before they have a tendency to turn pro. We
talked about it a little bit before, but the Europeans are now doing a lot of clamoring about maybe combating a veteran like in a winner on the Ryder Cup, Tom Watson, with a veteran for their side on the Ryder Cup competition in Glen Eagles. My position is I don't care who you pick. I agree with a lot of people that say the captains can't win it for you, but they could lose it for you as far as bad pairings and bad decisions and stuff. But it's up to the players. It's up to the players. If they have a good week, if they have a couple of good days, it's going to make a difference. If these guys have a bad day, a bad week, they're going to get hurt, and the captain can only do so much. He could cry along with the rest of the team.
Yeah, this is not a story to me.
No.
I think Ron, in the earlier segment made a good point that, Monty would probably be a good player to pick to lead their team in Scotland with the Tom Watson factor being very popular over there. But
I agree.
As far as until somebody goes really outside the box and makes a chooses Bella Caroli to lead the team or something like that.
Yeah, if they do, the side horse or something like that. But I think, like he said, I think Colin Montgomery would be a great pick because number one, Lee, he's absolutely revered in Scotland, and now that he is a Hall of Fame member, it's going to even blow the people there away, even more.
I agree with you. I think he would be a great pick, and I think Tom and Colin Montgomery would. Would be a nice match. Would be a good battle. Just like I liked Faldo and Azinger as people that, they like each other, but kind
from
of
an arm's length.
But yeah,
an arm's
I
length
also
relationship.
want to stay away.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a great lead in to 2014.
By the way, before we finish up with this segment of Pace of Play, you got a friend behind you. How intimately friendly are you, guy? I love this guy.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, the guy.
He is one of the most interesting guys in the world.
Yeah, the guy behind me. This is something I wanted to do for a while. So everybody listening and able to watch on YouTube when we post it on website or on YouTube, it's the guy behind me knows how to speak French in Russian.
In Russian, yeah,
If
which
he,
is pretty good.
if he ever needs to. So he is.
All right.
He is the most interesting man in the
All
world.
right, and before we wrap this up, just remember, my friends, stay thirsty. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Pace of Play on CBS Radio Las Vegas. Stay with us. Lee and I are going to come back and wrap up the show.
First tee, I hit a tree and bounced into the woods. Saw some